education and for the community.
I know you're absolutely earnest in trying to do it.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave the statement about the LEDs. My experience as a designer, and an LED versus a compact fluorescent light.
Metal halides.
Right, or metal halide because of the lighting levels we've got to get. You can't put light over a pool, it's a water source. You're looking at a 18 to 20 year payback for that LED light, for the savings you get off that light. And that's hoping that the guy that sells you the LED light and tells you it lasts for 10 years. I mean, I've been down to buy compact fluorescents that they say last 10 years at the hardware store. You ever had a 10-year compact fluorescent? You won't have a 10-year or a 20-year or a 50-year LED either. I mean, that's great marketing, but so I can tell you from experience, what we've got in there, you're going to see the savings. You'll see operating costs that all these other pools that were toured say, we need to redo our pool. Because the envelope alone, dumb materials, insulation, masonry, and metal panel, they work day in, day out, summer, rain, shine. It's a tighter envelope than any pool that is in Northern Nevada.
Thank you, Mary. At this time, we've got a long ways to go, and because our item number 3, history and overview on facility upgrade projects that are currently underway or being considered.
There's no more questions on this item.
We're only going to be here until 8 o'clock, and I want to allow questions and answers for after this also. So,
So you're not allowing more questions on the clock.
unfortunately, no. We can come back at the end if there are more questions. We'll come back at the end after we've gone through the rest of our program here on our agenda. At this time, and who you've already heard from, is one of our newly elected commissioners, Michael Koster. And then we also have with us tonight, we have Richard Howe. And I guess Richard used to live here and has come back 2 years ago. And then, of course, I think everybody knows Michael Lemage. So, and I do apologize to the board that I did not introduce you earlier. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to Elizabeth. And she represents, she's been chairing our subcommittee, building and planning committee. Okay, it's going to take me just a minute to switch out the PowerPoint program. Okay, we've entitled this presentation, the White Pine County Facility Upgrades, Preparing for the Future. And that's pretty much what the facilities upgrade projects are about. Hang on, I gotta figure this out.
Oh, it won't answer.
Oh, it won't?
I will.
Oh, thank you. Advance, please. Thank you, you're awesome. Okay, a little bit of history. The age of the main buildings for White Pine County. The annex was built in 1900, and the courthouse is built in 1907 to 1908. Our public safety building out on the highway is built in 1978. There's a little bit of discrepancy on the library. It was either built in 1970 or 1973. And our newest facility is the Emergency Response Complex that was built in 2011. So as you can see, we have several facilities that are well over 100 years safety building is over 40 years old. The library, I mean, these facilities, I'm sorry, it's not over 40 years old, it's over 30 years old. That's my hard math at work, sorry about that. But anyways, these facilities are getting older and they need some attention. And a little bit of history on this is that in the past, the county commissioners have wanted to do something about the area facilities and their conditions. Back in 1989 to 1992, offices were moved out of one side of the annex. I'm sorry, we had to change the tape. This is actually a meeting, so it has to be recorded for the record. All set, Susan?
Nope, not quite.
Elizabeth, we can't hear you back here.
Can you use his portable mic? Well, where's that mic? I think they're voice activated, and so you need to say a couple of things into it before we start.
Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, a little bit of history. Back in 1989 to 1992, the county commissioners wanted to move half of the annex over to another side of the building because they felt that the annex offices on one side were no longer a healthy option for the employees and the public to be served out of. When they went ahead and they moved those offices, the intent was to go ahead and do something to get them out of there permanently. Unfortunately, due to funding issues, that was not a possibility. We're still there, and the building has only gotten older and worse, and you can talk to any employee or members of the public who go into that building, and it's not the best environment. The reason we're looking at this now is because now we have net proceeds of mines coming in, and that is giving us additional funding. This is one-time funding that we don't want to include in operational spending because otherwise you build up an operational budget that's not sustainable. So you use these one-time funds for large projects, and what we're looking at now is to go ahead and look at the facility needs as one-time expenditures to get them up to where we need to be for the long term. And this is not a matter that hasn't been studied. It's not something that we haven't done due diligence on. We have had many studies done, and these ones listed on the screen that you see here are just the recent studies that have been done. They include a United States Marshal Service Facility Survey of the courthouse in October 2007 that found that there were many security deficiencies. In March of 2008, we did a Juvenile Justice Center study. I don't know if everybody knows, but we don't have juvenile detention here in White Pine County, so what we end up doing is taking juveniles to Elko, which means we often have to take juveniles to and from Elko for an overnight stay or for 2 or 3 day stays. They have to be brought back for court appearances. It costs a lot of time and energy for employees to travel to and from, gasoline, wear and tear on vehicles. So they did that study in March of 2008. In December of 2008, we did a needs assessment, facilities review and a master plan. And the Department of Taxation was here. I'm sure all of you remember that we were in severe financial emergency. And as part of the Department of Taxation being here, they wanted us to have a needs assessment done because they recognized the very sad shape that many of our facilities were in, and they wanted those to be upgraded. Then in March of 2011, a needs assessment space program and master plan update for a new administration facility was done.
Space, not as in the universe.
The space was to identify the square footage that was needed by each department. Because logically, in order to figure out how you're going to relocate offices, you need to know how much space they need. So you can buy buildings or find facilities that will match those space requirements. Originally,
established in 2008, while the Department of Taxation was still here, was a building committee. And the building committee went ahead and started doing some meetings and started looking at the age of buildings in White Pine County. The building committee kind of faded away, and it was resurrected then again in September of 2012 to actively work on correcting the issues faced due to the aging facilities. Now, it was resurrected because we had our maintenance superintendent come forward and say, I need to take out capital projects and we need to look at this project, this project, this project. And it was repair of aging facilities. And now that we have net proceeds of revenues coming in, maybe it's time to stop repairing those facilities and start looking at permanent long-term solutions. And so in 2012, the building committee was tasked with identifying facility needs for the county and coming up with the best and most cost-effective options out of the various possibilities for addressing them. And we kind of call this our octopus because there are so many different possibilities for addressing all these facility issues. So what the building committee has been trying to do is look at what are those needs, how can we effectively address them on a long-term basis, because now the money's here to do that, and how can we be most cost-effective in finding those solutions. The first thing we did is we went through and we identified the needs for the county. The first need that we identified was we needed to exit people from the annex. That is by far our oldest building and the one with the most issues. It has very high operating costs. It costs over $40,000 a month to heat that building. And you can still come in the middle of winter and have your heat on full blast and have ice on the inside of your windows. And you can talk to people who work in that building and they'll attest to that for you. Increasing maintenance costs. The older a facility gets, the more you dump in it to try and keep it running. Safety concerns related to the parking lot and building access. There's not a whole lot of real good ADA accessibility in that building. And if you walk down from the parking lot into the building, you know, there's a lot of melt and runoff that occurs and freeze up and it's ice and it gets very slick and slippery, and there are safety issues there. Also, the age and the condition of the building make renovation of that current structure really poor options, like throwing good money after bad. There's poor electrical supply in there, and the HVAC system is just not up to par and is very limited. The second need that we identified was the needs of the detention facility. Currently, we have inadequate cells during peak periods, and we also need additional detention cells to meet future needs, because part of the building committee task was not only to address current but future long-term needs. So we can't only meet what we need right now in order to keep that detention facility running at the public safety building. We also need to make sure we have adequate coverage for the future. And we also need to upgrade the existing detention cells so that we can make it safer for our staff as well as for the inmates that are housed there. We also, the next need we found was addressing issues identified in the U.S. Marshal Service report related to courthouse safety. We want to make sure that we are providing a safer environment for both the staff and public throughout the judicial process. I'm sure you've all been hearing in the news the incidences of different judges and things being attacked and things that are horrible occurring. Our current courthouse doesn't meet current safety standards, and to upgrade and retrofit a 100-year-old courthouse is difficult at best. We also want to segregate employees that are involved in the judicial process in a separate facility in order to enhance security. So in other words, the only people we want in the courthouse are the people who have to be there for the judicial process, the DAs, the attorneys, the judges, the jurors, the prisoners that are in custody. We want to keep the people who are going into the courthouse such as right now we have the treasurer's office there, we have the recorder's office there. We don't need these extra people in the courthouse. We can secure it better if we have less traffic. The next thing that we addressed was the library expansion, and this is another project that the public is very in tune to and has been requesting. It does several things. It provides additional office space for county and county commission chambers. It provides new office space for the agricultural extension and co-locates these offices with the library for better integration of services. These are two departments that work very well together, and by co-locating them, they can extend their services together better than they can separately. And it also provides additional meeting rooms for the public. I'd like to say that also after we went through and did this identification of needs, it was pointed out to us that this is also consistent with the SEDS committee priorities. You can see here under public facilities, it is the
Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy.
Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee. And they get together annually, I believe, and they look at all of the needs on a countywide basis, and they look at different things besides just facilities. It's all about economic development, but when they looked at the public facilities under urgent and critical, their number one thing was the public safety building priority. The second one was to vacate county courthouse annex and move administrative offices out of the courthouse. The third was to implement the county facilities master plan. The fourth was expansion of meeting room space for the library expansion and video conference capability. And the fifth was maintenance and safety issues on all city and county facilities to obtain operational standards. So I thought that was pretty good that we had come up with the same outline that the SEDS committee had. So far on our work completed, we have a plan developed for exiting offices from the annex. And that plan is to go ahead and purchase the building at 297 East 11th Street. You may know that as the Ely Times building right now. The county commissioners approved closing of escrow on that building. We went ahead and negotiated and got a final offer on it, accepted at $385,000. We had a discussion with all of the departments regarding office locations. How can we take offices out of the annex and get them over there effectively? And we did a conceptual floor plan and for office space. And it was very, very a good cooperative effort. I commend every single department that was over in the annex at their hard work in coming up with a floor plan on how we could get people out of the annex into this alternate facility and come up with a workable plan. So that was very exciting. This is the conceptual floor plan that we came up with. So back here we're going to have social services, juvenile probation, public health, human resources. Up here will be the assessor. Over here we'll have EDC. Over here we'll have the commissioners. So we've taken everybody from the annex and we've moved them out of the annex now with two different locations. The agricultural expansion will be co-locating into the library. The building and planning department that was once over there has already relocated out to the emergency operations complex. And so this is the floor plan that they designed that is a workable solution to getting the offices out of the annex. An assessment of the new location had to be done before they allowed us to go ahead and close escrow. We did an appraisal. The appraised value was $390,000. We had negotiated a closing price of $385,000, so we came in under the appraised value. Buildings inspections were completed. They show minor problems consistent with a building of that age, but definitely a building that is consistent with being a workable solution for office space for the county. We did a mold inspection. Mold on the interior of the building was lower than that outside, so that means there's no mold issues within that building. We did an asbestos inspection, and there was no asbestos found in the sampling that was done. And like I said, we will be closing escrow on or before April 23rd. The next step is closure and demolition of the annex, okay? We are researching into building demolition. This is not something you can just knock down. It's a very old building. We had discussions related to a yard sale of the annex treasures prior to demolition because there are a lot of doors and windows and those kind of things that we can sell and bring revenues back into the county. And the community can have a piece of history, and that's for sure, because that is an old building and many of the fixtures are original. And then we went ahead and have had a thorough asbestos sampling to determine necessary precautions to be taken prior to demolition. And so, as you know, when you demolish a building, there's a lot of dust, and we don't want the airborne asbestos, so we've had the asbestos samples taken, and we're waiting for the sampling to go through the assay lab so we can see what we need to do to complete the process of encapsulating that asbestos before that building's taken down. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the Building and Planning Department has moved on the annex to the USA building. And now we've been doing a lot of work on the library, and for this I'd like to turn it over to our library director, Lori Romero, who's going to walk you through the next step of
I'm Lori Romero, and I'm the director of the county library, and as Elizabeth said, we have been doing a lot of work on this. We've been working on this project for probably a couple of years at least. The existing library was built in 1970. I went by the date on the plaque in the building. And so we need to keep in mind, yes, it's a newer building, but think about how technology and automation advancements have changed in the last 43 years. We've had an increase for demand in meeting space. The room we have now, we could book 4 times over. And there's been the need for video conferencing capabilities. And once again, the needs for the more and larger meeting space have been identified more than once. In 2008, the county hired Ganther and Melby to do a county infrastructure study, which that need was brought up. In 2010, the community assessment was done throughout the county, and once again it surfaced. And as Elizabeth pointed out in the SEDS meetings, that was also identified several years in a row. And this chart shows a comparison. What's supposed to be blue is some statistics from 2008, and the red is 2011, and you can see the increase in demanded room and attendees of those meetings. So it has definitely increased. This is architectural drawings of our proposed addition. You have a breezeway there that connects onto the front part of the building, which makes for a breezeway which includes the office space with pocket extension, who we are partnering with. It includes 3 study rooms for tutoring for proctoring of tests, which now take place in the main part of the library, which is very distracting. Plus, they could be used for small meeting groups. And then it also includes for new bathrooms to service that conference room during evening meetings. The main entrance would also be changed to the northeast end of the building, which takes it away from the courthouse and makes the ADA access come off of Clark Street instead of Campton Street, and it makes it so everyone comes in the same direction instead of handicapped from one direction and the main floor coming from another. And this is the floor plan that's laid out. So you can see the main entrance comes in by the conference room with the ADA. You have the breezeway that accommodates the new study rooms and the office space for property extension and the bathrooms. This project's been projected at $735,000. We have raised $226,600. The county support has come in at $350,000. So we're still short about $158,400 to get this project off the ground. Because of being a public library, we were able to get pro bono services for our architect and planning. We have an architect out of Henderson working with us. And we were also able to get our preliminary geotechnical soil engineering done pro bono. Now I will turn it back over to Elizabeth.
Thanks, Lori. And just to remind you that Lori does have a display over there in the library expansion project, and she will be over there after the meeting is concluded to answer questions and give you more information if you're wanting that. Okay, future tasks. These are future tasks with estimated timelines. And like I said, this is a long-term plan. Because the idea and the task that we were supposed to accomplish is to find long-term solutions. So here's the long-term plan with estimated, and I want to emphasize estimated timeline. Okay, the first thing is to remodel the 11th Street property. And we anticipate that this will be a project that's done this summer. And then once that property has been remodeled, according to the plan that I showed you a little bit earlier that the department had worked so hard on, we will relocate the office from the annex to the 11th Street property, and we hope that that will happen this fall in September or October. Then we want to go ahead and complete demolition of the annex. Demolition of the annex we hope to accomplish spring, summer 2014. So next year, after we've done gotten the employees out of there, obviously we want them out first before we demolish the building. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. We're going to go ahead, and the next thing would be the ongoing fundraising for the library expansion, and then plan and design for the detention facility upgrades. And that would be winter of 2013, spring 2014. We're taking this stepwise because each one of these projects, I heard someone say, we're worried about cost. And that was one of the tasks we had, most cost-effective way. So we're taking these one step at a time. We're going to complete one project, make sure it's done right, and then move on to the next. That's very important. After we do that, then we're going to go ahead and work on construction of the detention facility upgrades. This could start as early as summer of 2014 or the fall of 2014. And depending on how the fundraising goes for the library, start construction on the library expansion summer of 2014 or fall of 2014. And again, I'm telling you, these are estimated timeline, okay? And then plan and design the new court complex where the annex is currently located. So once the annex is taken down, we have this site that's already got utilities to it, and the idea is that we're not going to be able to effectively retrofit a 100-year-old courthouse with modern security. So if we build a new modern court complex where the annex currently sits, then we can go ahead and deal with the security of the court complex and use the old courthouse for administrative offices, and that will effectively keep our historical landmark, the courthouse, and we'll have the security in the new court complex. Then we're going to go ahead and work on constructing the new court complex. Again, an estimate only, spring 2016 through fall 2016, sometime in there. Then we'll relocate the judicial departments from the existing courthouse to the new court complex, and then relocate the assessor, the county commissioners, the human resources, economic development from the 11th Street property back to the courthouse, because we will have vacated all of the court personnel out of the old courthouse. And so that will kind of become your one-stop shop for your services related to administration for the county, the assessor, the treasurer, the recorder, the non-court clerk. We hope to go ahead and get building and planning department off back over there. So you'll have all those offices co-located in the old courthouse. Okay, so that is the long-term